Good afternoon, folks. I'm really happy to see an amazing turnout for a very important event, which is education. As you know, my colleague and the former Shadow Minister for Education did help organize this silent sit-in, which was to be a voice in protesting the fact that much of the further education award monies have been removed from that particular budget to the tune of $720,000. What this means for many people who don't ordinarily qualify for the Bermuda Government Scholarship or private scholarships because perhaps academically they haven't reached a certain level, it means that those who are in financial situations cannot afford to gain the skills that they think are necessary in order to be responsive to workforce demands. Unlike what most people believe, not only does this affect young, upcoming students, but it also affects our mature students who often in these modern times, with the way technology has affected the workforce, find themselves having to upgrade their skills or re-professionalize. Bermuda College has been a bastion for many of those people, providing them with the necessary courses and the like to ensure that they do acquire the skills that they need and are responsive to workforce demands. And as I have said all too often, that particular category of people have been overlooked and are often seen as being the students who indeed need the finances to ensure that they have the skill sets to take over in the workforce. Having said that, let me just make this clear. We live in a society where indeed we do rely on our international partners and a certain level of professionals from overseas to fill posts here in Bermuda. And what we're saying to that is that it is important that we assist our locals here to ensure that they are always first and foremost the number one choice when it comes to receiving jobs here in Bermuda. And key for ensuring that they have those jobs is ensuring first that they have the necessary qualifications to take on those jobs. So I think it was very timely and also prudent to have this sit in here today to show the LBA government and to tell the minister how important it is to have that funding in place so that people can get on and qualify for positions here in Bermuda, and so that our students will know that as they go forward, that there is something in place for them to rely on should they not be able to accrue all of the finances which are necessary for them to educate themselves. And I do understand from the minister that it may possibly be altered to reflect a higher amount of money so that more people can rely on assistance from government. And that is a crucial thing, that we should always be able to rely on assistance. We're not looking for handouts, but rely on government to step in and ensure that its people come first, particularly in education, so that society can always look to have qualified people to take their role in society. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the Shadow Minister. Let me start out by saying very clearly that government and certainly the Ministry of Education understands the importance of scholarships. I think many people around here, including myself, have benefited from scholarships in the past. So I think fundamentally we understand the importance of this, and we're certainly going to do our best to maintain scholarship support. But let me also clarify a couple things as well. In the current budget, government has put aside $1 million for a range of different bursaries and scholarships. They include the Bermuda government scholarships, they include the future education awards we're talking about, teacher training scholarships, and also mature student awards as well. Within that $1 million, there is some flexibility as to how that money gets allocated. And I think there's been a little bit of a misunderstanding that possibly only $40,000 would go towards future education awards. So I think we will work with the scholarship committee of the Board of Education. They're currently reviewing what they're looking at, and they will come back to the minister, myself, and the department with possibly some suggestions as to how this money can be allocated once they have a clear understanding of what they're being asked for from the different applications that have gone in. It is true that this is a decrease from last year. The amount of money last year was $1.25 million in round numbers. But the fact of the matter is, and this is reality these days, is that the education budget had to take some cuts, as indeed all budgets across the various portfolios had to take. Frankly, the path we were on before was simply unsustainable. Now, I guess the good news from my perspective, because I think education probably is the most important ministry, the most important department, is that education didn't have to take as much of a cut. But the fact of the matter is that the $700-odd thousand that was spent a couple of years ago was simply unsustainable. In that year, which the Shadow Minister referred to, the Ministry of Education, the Department of Education overspent its budget by some $3 million. As you know, we simply can't continue to spend at that rate, and in fact I think one of the problems the current government has is they've been handed a real mess by the former government, who overspent. No, it's true. It's true.
You didn't look under the hood yet?
I have.
How long are you going to look under the hood?
And I think until we recognize economic reality here, we need to have a sustainable situation. Unfortunately, the current students are suffering as a consequence of spending that went on before. But we're going to do our best to deal with that. We'll also look to see if we can make some additional savings this year, and see if there's additional money we can put in this direction. But I think you all understand that there are current students in the system right now. We cannot shortchange them either, and that's why we've put additional money into professional development. We are putting additional money into early childhood education, and we are looking to make sure that we improve the quality of education for those students that are in the system. So it is. I just explained it. You want the quality of teaching to improve. Part of the rationale there is to basically have improving professional development for teachers. We also want to make sure that younger children have a good start in the system, working at a preschool level and a primary school level as well. And so this is obviously a key part of this government going forward. I think it's. I'm exactly talking about the children in the system right now. They are as important to us. Yeah, we're helping them. We've done. We've talked about professional development. We've talked about improving the quality of education, and I think that's key. Okay. I don't know if there are any questions, but at this point, that's we'll do our best.
Then you can step down.
Okay. Thank you.
Any question? I got it. Like my counterpart, the Shadow Minister of Education, I am very disappointed to see that this reduction in allocation. And it was very interesting to hear the minister speak. One thing that did catch my ear is that he spoke about improving the budget for early intervention, when in fact the budget this year was reduced for early intervention, as well as the amount of teachers. So I'm not sure where that actually came from. but we can refer to the budget book and it will show that very clearly. But when we look at the amount of money that's been allocated for these resources, there's been of that $1 million, $825,000 of that has been allocated to scholarships. Those scholarships not only include the possible 8 that may be given out this year, but includes all of the students that still remain in the scholarship program from years past. So the fact that the minister states that there should be some money available from that is something that just doesn't wash with me, because we're paying out for previous students and we're paying out for students this year, and we're paying out to the University of West Indies out of that budget. The fact is that we are here to talk about the reduction of money for students that require funds based on financial need, not academic performance. The fact is that that budget has been reduced from $760,000 2 years ago to $380,000 last year to $40,000 this year. We have an average award of $5,000 that leaves money enough for 8 students. The minister has already stated in his release that 180 people have applied for funding. Out of that, possibly 8 students will receive. What will happen with the other 172? That's the question that we need to have answered. Thank you.
Not to our satisfaction,
Good afternoon. On behalf of the student government of Cedar Bridge Academy, along with the students of excellence at Cedar Bridge Academy, we would like to express our disappointment in the decision to decrease the monies that were previously available for us to achieve college degrees through government-funded scholarships. The majority of us have high expectations, goals, and dreams that may only be fulfilled with the assistance of these scholarships. We plan to go to college or university, achieve undergrad or graduate degrees that will enable us to become the future successful leaders of this country, our beautiful home. Please keep in mind that these scholarships are the only avenue that a large percentage of us will have to achieve higher education. Without a vision, the people perish, and we, the students of excellence at Cedar Bridge Academy, envision a bright future. We ask that you look favorably upon our request, which is to reverse the decision of cutting scholarship monies that have been available to us. We also have a number of signatures and petitions that were scanned to Mr. Brown. Respectfully submitted, Destiny Taylor, Student Government President.
very good. Very good.
I'd like to thank Ms. Taylor for the proclamation, and as I said earlier, we're going to do what we can to see if we can allocate as much money to the Future Education Awards. We have $1 million to play with. If we can find some more money in the education budget, we will certainly do so, because as I said before, we understand very clearly the importance of scholarship support for young Bermudians, whether they be Berkeley or Cedar Bridge, going to college. Thank you.
Take a million out of it. There you go.
Afternoon. On the behalf of the Berkeley Institute students, I would like to say that we are hurt because our future is important. We are the future of the island, and without education, we can't develop a better island for ourselves or for our children that we have to raise as well. So, you know, the cut is going to affect us directly.
Okay.